Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and today we are going to be discussing the lore behind the Crystal Tower as well as some speculation on the future of this content. I get asked a lot about the final cutscene, so most of my speculation will happen there. There will be spoilers to the story here, so if you want to be spoiler free, then you should turn around now. You have been warned. The Crystal Tower story arc starts in Mordona, where Strange Man alerts you to the presence of a research team looking to uncover a wealth of information regarding the ancient Allegan civilization. He directs you to St. Coinoc's Find, to the east, where you come across an expedition team with your good friend Sid Garland, as well as a man named Rambros. They are looking to uncover the secrets within the Crystal Tower and learn of its resurfacing in the wake of the Calamity. Sid and Rambros alert you to the powerful elemental shield protecting the Crystal Tower. The defense is made up of 4 shields, each one of them aligned to a different element. Anything that touches these barriers will be decimated upon touching it. On top of that, any aircraft that come too close get destroyed immediately, so you have no choice but to disable these defenses. As you agree to join them in their expedition, you are welcomed into the Sons of St. Coinoc, the name of the expedition group. Your goal? To understand and preserve the technology of the fallen Allegan Empire. So in order to break the first defense of the Crystal Tower, you must obtain elemental crystals of the highest caliber that can reflect the power of the shields back to the statues that project them. To find these flawless crystals, you venture into the Beastman strongholds and take them from some of the strongest generals inside. You obtain one of each element required, fire, water, wind, and earth, and bring them back to Rambros. With these in hand, they can begin phase 2 of bringing down the walls, which will require them to be cut and polished to the exact specifications that Sid has set forth. For this, you will need 4 varieties of a substance known as Aether Sand. Hoping to convince the Goldsmithing Guild to double their efforts in procuring these materials, you travel there with purse in hand. Once there, you run into your old friend Biggs. He also desires the Aether Sand and at first refuses to let you have it. That is, until you explain what Sid needs it for. However, he gives it up at a price. He wishes to take place in the expedition in the Crystal Tower as well. You then obtain the Fire Aether Sand from the Goldsmithing Guild and hope they will work hard to gather more of the substance. It is in this moment that Biggs reveals that Wedge went to obtain Earth Aether Sand in northern Thanalan. Upon arriving, you find that Wedge's bodyguard last saw him sneaking onto a minecart of a group of bandits who had stolen the Aether Sand. You track Wedge down in their camp and rescue him, along with procuring the Earth Aether Sand. Wedge too shows interest in the expedition and relinquishes the material to you in the end. You return to Sid and Rambros and give them the first 2 Aether Sands while explaining to Sid of your run-in with his colleagues. Rambros then alerts you that he has set up some sketchy arrangements to procure the last 2 Aether Sands. He reveals these arrangements to consist of an old friend of his obtaining them for him. He has, however, lost contact with his supplier. You travel to the Gridanian markets where Pasmontre is located, hoping to uncover some information. He tells you that no Aether Sand has come by the markets in some time, and that your best bet would be to gather the water-aspected Aether Sand in Earth's gift, though the area is quite dangerous. Regardless, you travel out there in dispatch of a mother hog. When attempting to mine the ore, a voice is heard in the trees stating that they have already taken the ore before requesting a race to obtain the Wind Aether Sand. You rush to the Ixali logging grounds in the North Shroud, fighting past hordes of Ixali before winning the race to the Aether Sand. The voice quickly chimes in, having only lost the race by a short time. He says that he will reward you for his entertainment and bids you travel to Proud Creek in the east. Upon arriving and clearing out the nearby Dullahans, you discover that he left you the water-aspected Aether Sand, completing your collection. The voice promises that you two will meet again before you travel back to Rambros. With all 4 Aether Sands, Sid uses them to craft the flawless crystals into fangs that you will use to penetrate the walls of the Crystal Tower. Biggs and Wedge appear shortly after, before you are finally greeted by Grahatia, who reveals himself to be the man who was following you through the Shroud before, and he announces to be a student of the Baldessians. With all of the members of the exhibition team present, you head for the gates of the Crystal Tower. Just before you set off through, Grahatia assumes the leader position and renames the expedition team the Nominated Observers of Artifacts Historical, or NOAA. He also quickly reveals it to be the name of an Allegan Archmagus. You approach the entrance of the Crystal Tower with the 4 fangs in hand. After Grahatia shoots an arrow at the shield and sees it disintegrate immediately, Sid then offers to test out the fangs firsthand, and just in case anything goes wrong so no one else gets hurt but himself. The fangs prove successful, however, and you all proceed to break the elemental defenses one at a time. Now, at the entrance to the Labyrinth of the Ancients, Sid elects that you bring a group of your own hand-picked adventurers before setting foot inside. The irony that only 7 of the 24 adventurers are actually hand-picked is quite comical to me at this point. Grahatia hesitantly agrees, and you then set off to dispatch of the many enemies in the Crystal Tower, or actually the Labyrinth of the Ancients. Within, you find an elegant mechanism protecting intruders from accessing the door to the base of the tower. Connected to it are 3 tablets, which have each had their power bound to the life of 3 deadly creatures the Allegan have trapped within. Protecting these creatures are several trials that you quickly overcome. In order to break the seals, you defeat the Bone Dragon, Thanatos, and the King Behemoth, all of which have had their will tied to the Allegan technology nearby. Upon the final creature's defeat, the final tablet releases and allows access to the top floor of the labyrinth. Welcoming you is a massive man wielding a giant sword. You challenge and defeat the powerful man, unlocking the door that acts as the exit to this maze, yet only to the entrance of the Crystal Tower itself. Upon defeating him, Biggs, Wedge, Sid, and Grahatia catch up and ask of your adventures through the labyrinth. In the process, Sid and Grahatia marvel over the size and complexity of the structure. Grahatia reveals that the purpose of the Allegan structure was to collect and store endless supplies of energy through sunlight, like a giant solar panel. He also reveals the man you fought, Acheron, to be an ancient hero of the Allegan Revolution. Considering this would make his age very, very large, he then finally reveals how he still lives. The Crystal Tower is defended by champions of their empire who were resurrected and augmented through their technology. With the foot of the tower just outside your grasp, Noah returns to their camp at St. Koinak's Find to discuss what they have discovered. With what you have discovered about the insides of the Crystal Tower, Sid reveals that the tower was not simply uncovered from the destruction of the Calamity, but it has actually reawoken. He reveals that they will likely need to destroy the place at some point, as well as return it to dormancy. For this to happen, they need more information on the technology inside and state that the adventure must continue. Before doing this, Sid is tasked by Rambros to discover all he can about the currently available defense. In this time, it is recommended that you continue to hone your fighting skills, as you shall be needed again for future expeditions. With this, the meeting ends and you all go handle your own individual jobs. However, unbeknownst to you, someone has been watching and waiting. During the late hours of the night, the man who told you of Sid's endeavor from Mordona approaches the rubble of the gate just outside the entrance. He looks upon it with delight as he sees the tower's defenses have indeed been destroyed. The man reveals himself to be none other than Nero Tolskeva, who you had last seen escaping from the Praetorium. He reveals that his energy meter reads a tremendous energy at the top of the tower, one that greatly outclasses the readings and power of Ultima Weapon. Nero thrills at the excitement of a new toy and approaches the Crystal Tower to claim it for his own. This then ends the Crystal Tower's story for patch 2.1, and boy, what a cliffhanger ending for that to end on. Alright, now let us briefly discuss the power readings Nero was talking about at the top of the tower there. Now, of course, with his direct comparison to Ultima Weapon, everybody who is a big Final Fantasy fan immediately imagines that the only weapon that could surpass him, without a doubt, would be Omega. You know, some people have said, oh, it could be Ruby, it could be Emerald, it could be Diamond. We're all pretty much in agreement that if it's anybody, it's Omega. I too concur with this theory, though I found it odd that he would be placed at the top of the tower. Omega was not present in Final Fantasy III at all, not even in the remakes, and since the Crystal Tower is supposed to be heavily based off Final Fantasy III, I find it odd that they just throw him in there. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it works fine. I think it's a good way of modifying the Crystal Tower to make it more to the purpose of Final Fantasy XIV, more to the world of Final Fantasy XIV, since the entire Crystal Tower and why everything is in there, why it's being explained, it's just that things have been augmented by the Allegan, Empire, and that these are their old champions. Almost like Final Fantasy III is in the same world as Final Fantasy XIV, but that it's just so old. It just happened so long ago that these were considered heroes at some point. That doesn't make any sense. Don't get me wrong, but I just find it weird that Omega is being put up there. I respect the originality that it might add to the Crystal Tower. And they've already showcased that, you know, there are more bosses that are specific to Final Fantasy XIV, like the King Behemoth and Thanatos and the Bone Dragon. Now, clearly, Cloud of Darkness is also there at the top, who, based on what we learned earlier, actually may be an ancient Allagan hero as opposed to being a villain. However, based on the other information we gathered earlier, she would also be defending secrets of the tower, and thus it is likely she will not be the absolute final encounter of the Crystal Tower. It is possible that she is still the final boss, and that she's not actually, and that she is actually the power reading that Nero Tolskeva is picking up. It's very possible that he is just picking up her power as opposed to Omega weapons, but it seems, and that makes even more sense now that I think about it, because Nero's device picks up the power readings of Allagan technology, and if she's been augmented by Allagan technology, then it makes sense that she just might be the power reading, and it might not actually be Omega. But if she is protecting anything, I'm looking for it to be none other than Omega. Now, they were obviously trying to gather solar energy to power something, right? One would expect maybe it was their entire civilization they were trying to power, but what if it was just Omega instead? What if it was just one of their weapons? Well, I guess only time will tell with that secret. There is one other possibility, though I'm not so inclined to believe this over Omega. Alexander is another. He's a Final Fantasy summon who is a massive machine, and may be the other secret being hidden at the top of the tower. However, this I believe to be less likely than Omega, as I feel that reducing him to nothing more than a weapon of the Allagan, it would be really uncharacteristic of how epic Alexander usually is. He's usually far more epic than that, and I'd expect him to be more used in the main story than to be used as a side story. Alexander is just, he's way too prominent of a summon, of a machine, of a character, of everything to be reduced to an optional piece of content. That's just the way that I feel. It is also unlikely that his power would ever be comparable to that of Omega and Ultima, thus Nero's power reading is another clue of it not being Alexander. Overall, though, this is just speculation, and I'm sure we'll find out a great deal more about this in the future. Is Omega really at the top? Is it Alexander? Could Nero's energy reading just be a reading on the Cloud of Darkness? Is she really a hero augmented by the Allagan now, or is she just the one true villain of the Crystal Tower? Only time will tell. Thank you for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy videos, Final Fantasy 14, 11, whatever. Check out the rest of my channel. There's tons of other stuff on there. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter where you can get regular updates about what I'm doing. And also feel free to follow me on Twitch where I will be streaming a Final Fantasy February streamathon for the month of February. I do stream other than that, though, so just shoot me a follow and you'll see when I'm going live. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.